Let's see. Miss Carol is going to give us a human resource presentation. And we've had some impact on human resources lately with all of our retirements and turnover. I don't know if y'all all know Carol.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about the changing workforce a bit, and just take a little snapshot. Amy referred to turnover a while ago, and it's one of the things that we benchmark in HR and look at, and you're always asked about. So the national average turnover in public sector is around 11% voluntary, 2% involuntary. And this is our turnover for 2013, and we had 8.9% voluntary and less than 1% involuntary. What we had in 2013 is what we're seeing a lot of, and that's retirements. And if we remove the 14 retirements from the 2013 figures, then our turnover actually drops to 5.6, which is phenomenally low. And it has been, I think when I first got here, the turnover rate was around 8%, and so it's actually dropped over time. I think people have tended to stay with the job because of the economy, partially. And so anyway, that's what we're looking at turnover. The norm, I didn't put it on there, but the norm for the national just combined turnover is about 13% voluntary and 8% involuntary. So let's take a look at retirements and kind of how retirements have affected what we're doing this year. So what we looked at is the 2011 to through end of February of 2014. And this clearly shows how retirements have increased. The blue is the retirements that are completed, and the 8 on the 2014 are anticipated retirements. These are individuals that we know have identified themselves as going to retire this year. There may be others that we don't know about, but we do know about those 8. So that's 15 for 2014. So those 43 retirements represent 11.7% of the workforce. That's enough to have some impact on the workforce. Okay, and then let's look at it as a percent of a percentage of the workforce. This one, I think, demonstrates it even a little bit more clearly in that it shows you the number of retirements that we had each year and then the impact that it had on the workforce. And you can see it's escalating. It will continue to do so. We're dealing with the baby boomers, or what some call the silver tsunami, which I thought that was a pretty good expression for that. And some of us cover that up pretty well. But yeah. Some don't, yeah. Some look very sophisticated with that. So, anyway, so this is what we look at next is, you know that as you look at this, the loss of tenure. And this was kind of remarkable as we went through this. To me, even each time somebody retires, and you know how many retirement receptions you've been to in the last few years, there's a loss. You talk about somebody who's been here 30 years or 25 years or 36 years or whatever. That's a lot of knowledge and skills that's lost. But I thought about it as in individual bites, and I haven't really thought about it as a whole. So for this period of time, again, the 2011, 2014 today, that shows the number of years that's lost, or number of years of tenure that's lost each of those years. And that's a total of 1,009 years, which was really remarkable to me. It's very impactful, and I think when we first look at it, we think about just the loss, but there's positives and negatives to retirement. The positives are that it creates opportunities for emerging leaders and the individuals that you identify within your organization, and those that we hire from outside to bring in new ideas, new methods, new ways of doing things, and their skill set and their knowledge that they bring with them. So it's a good thing from that standpoint. But there's no question that there's a loss of knowledge and skills and abilities, and you lose the history. I was talking about Freeman the other day. And he was talking about that was the thing that he thought was maybe the most meaningful, as you lose the history of knowing why you do things the way you do, why that policy exists, or why that procedure exists. And that's a loss that you don't get back, you know. So, and whether you feel positively or negatively about the effects of it, it's going to continue. This is something that we looked at just for this one snippet of this year. Who's eligible to retire right now? And we have 18 employees eligible based on age. We have 41 employees eligible 25 or more years of service. So that's 59 people. Could they walk out the door tomorrow? Yeah, they could. Will they? Probably not. We know 8 of those have identified themselves as going to retire. But how many of those, how many more? Or I'm sure we'll have some surprises this year and other people who will retire. But you could have, you know, with 25 years of service, you could have somebody that's, you know, just in their 40s. So they're not likely to go. But that tells you how impactful this is going forward. It's going to continue. And check notes here and make sure I miss that. Another thing was that the average age of a retiree during this period was about 59.9, generally about 60 years of age. So even your people with a lot of tenure, but they're not age eligible, or they're not eligible because of age, then you're not likely to have a huge walkout all at the same time. Okay, so this is going to impact us for many years, and going forward, I think the most important things that we have to do, which we are doing, is succession planning and creating a knowledge transfer and opportunities for those people, particularly those people that have identified themselves as going to retire, that they have opportunities maybe for coaching and mentoring those people who are coming along that have been identified as emerging leaders. And you have a transfer of the brain trust that's walking out the door. And then selection, hiring the brightest and the best to really put the emphasis on your selection process. Make it important, because it is important. One bad hire can really create a lot of loss and time consumption for an organization. It does a lot of harm. And we have good examples of this now as far as succession planning. Sherry Knight, Kate Lyons created an opening by retiring. Sherry Knight walked into that. It's doing a fantastic job. And then hiring from the outside. We've got some great examples. Wes has been here 3 years, but that's kind of green around here, so it's kind of nothing. You're still a newcomer.
Mine's been extended about 3 times.
Has it? I understand. I think I'm still on it too. So Wes is an example. Hal Craner hit the ground running. We got Scott Joyce. We're still kicking the tires on him, but looks like he's going to be okay. And Janina is another example. So I think our selection process, we've done an excellent job in that. And this is what we just have to continue to do. So, any questions?
It's not just here, it's everywhere. What the program doesn't have about the challenge to the airline industry on pilots. And one of them created a program at University of Oklahoma or Oklahoma State, where you can go through a program up there to become an airline pilot and kind of expedite his action rather than into the military. Most of them have to do for the military for pilots. So it's
I don't want my pilots to be expedited. I want them to know all the stuff.
yeah.
I don't want them to fail land.
It's
But
a
did
real
real well
challenge
and everything else.
for us. You know, you saw there James Patterson a while ago. I mean, he's a good example of the kind of people we need to hire. There's others right there. Scott with Joyce, the jury's still out of him. The OP bids haven't know. It really just comes down to hiring good people and teaching them to do the job. That's what we know to do. We've got lots of opportunity. A lot of this, those numbers may seem a little high to you on the turnover. A lot of them come from areas like the police department. Y'all don't have that much on the fire department, I guess, but dispatchers is probably the #1 hardest job in the city. People think it's paid pretty well, it's gonna be a pretty easy job, answer the phone every once in a while. And sometimes they find out pretty quickly they don't work out. And police officers are the same way. So there's some of those where that turnover rate, you can get them past a certain point, they'll stay. But it's getting them past that point that's the tough part. And we've got some other areas that are a little bit difficult. But I think all of our directors and managers do a great job at hiring and selecting people. And Hal is probably a really good example of the challenge we face. With payment management, you see something new and good that Hal brings to the table. But Hal may get a call from someone on some street and he has no working idea where it is. So it's, of course, you got maps going out on that west where it is. It's there's trade-offs. We lost a lot that we'll never replace with long retirement, but Hal wants to do important things. So it's a dynamic process, and we've got lots of opportunities coming up. And continue to think that the continuity in any organization is critical. And the more continuity you can have, the better off you are. Yes, there may be an example of a bad organization that you don't want continuity, but you want a clean break. But for you, continuity has been one of the things.
That's what makes us different.
Yeah. Okay, any questions on HR? Always recruiting and continue to recruit. Matt Brown has been telling us it's some stats that I don't know that I've ever heard before. But it's when you get around 100 employees, you never stay full. And that's what he's finding. It seems like the more effort we put into it, the farther behind he gets. That's not critical of him. I think it's just indicative of that size organization. Yeah.
We swore in our Manhattan South guys this morning, our 3 guys from New York. They passed their state licensing test, and we swore them in this morning, so we're plugging them straight into field training. We cut off out 14 weeks because of their challenge test.
Wow.
Still have openings?
Still have, we hired 5, still got 1 in the academy, so.
Anybody y'all have?
We do not have an opening right now, but we are expecting at least 2 retirements in the next couple of months.
It's got, particularly in the patrol and PD and then the suppression, the guys you see on the trucks in the fire department is keep those members set. It's amazing. The daily report that reminds me, it's amazing the number of days you see that they are at 10,000, whatever. It's a real challenge. Mr. McDonald is going to talk to us about a couple of topics here. Walk of Champions, park doors, anything else?
Well, those of you who were there know we inducted Johnny a couple of weeks ago, and that was a great ceremony. I appreciate those of you that came out to celebrate with Johnny. It was a very touching moment for Mr. Green, and that was something I think that those of us who have worked for him and with him over the years will always appreciate. We're talking about lost knowledge. I don't know that in our department we will ever have a retirement where more knowledge walks out the door than did with Johnny Green. So, but with the Walk of Champions committee, we recently have had a member, Monty Huffman, as y'all know, he's moved out of the area, and he was our citizen member. And just to kind of refresh your memories on the committee itself, we have a representative from the city council, which is Mr. Hall, a representative from the park board, which is Eric Owens. We have a staff representative, which is myself, and then a citizen member, which was mine. So we come to you tonight, letting you know that we do have that vacancy, and if you have any recommendations of someone that you would like considered for that position, we would certainly love to hear it. What the Walk of Champions tries to accomplish as a committee is to induct at least one annually. We kind of got away from that a while back, but we got back on track. At least one annually, someone who has had a tremendous impact on youth sports in the city of Euless. And y'all know, but the Walk of Champions itself is at the Parks of Texas Star and is represented with a monument that's dedicated to that individual. So that's where we come to you tonight with this topic, and look for some guidance to fill that particular position. And in fact, I guess when Mr. Hall officially walks away from the city council, we'll need to fill that one as well. So
But he can transition into the citizen representative.
if he certainly could.
And this tonight is just to plant the seed that we do have Mr. Hall's vacancy that will be coming up in May, and then that citizen. How have we done that, Mayor? Judges, I don't think there's been a.
I don't think the council's ever voted on it.
Yeah, I think
The
it's.
recommendations on laying it down, and who he feels is qualified.
So y'all would give us some thoughts, whenever we would come back, kind of make a recommendation to you. But agree with that. Certainly, if all is willing, and that's what y'all wanted to designate, you certainly got experience there. And then we need a council person to fill in. I think one thing to point out to you, remember, obviously Johnny Green worked for us, but working for us is not a criteria. It is the long history in the youth sports that
Doug and Grady.
Doug Grady and Brady
Grady.
and Ed Harrison. Yes, that, you know, most people now do not even know it's part of the history that you lose, but you do need people that are that have been active in youth sports that are not necessarily related to the city. It's not an employee thing at all, or elected official or people that have an impact.
And that's why Ray would be more suitable for selecting, because we don't know about what's going on in the sports and anything. So if you get a list, get the elections, bring it back and we'll support it.
It's not like they meet monthly or anything. It's once a year. Okay. So we'll get back to you on that.
I'd like to throw a comment there too, Ray. I really like to first have something in our museum about the history of our sports in use, where we were, where we came from, and where we are now. We're talking about Midway Park and kind of how it started, you know. Just a few men got together and decided to make a park. Now that, I think we need to have something in the museum concerning that issue.
Yes, sir.
It probably wouldn't hurt to get some kind of recorded history, because I know that is an interesting story, and you can't just address it through pictures or something. Well, there's still some folks around.
Right. And when we do record our history, do we also record it on floors that have been long time, floors, lifetime to read, and there's so much stuff on?
Our current oral history collection is only from, comprised of historical members, really.
I think we could,
People who served on the
we
committee.
could, you know, go ahead and do that, because we know how much they know.
That can work on that with Ray's input on it, because that is a real interesting history on that part. There's not many people that don't know where it came from and how it got there, so.
Yeah, I'm ready to hear the real version anyway.
I've heard
several.
3 different versions.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one to believe. Kind of like other things in the museum, so it might fit well in there.
But I still have a lot of documentation from back in the early 60s, though. Me and Mike Gamble both did.
Yeah.
Even Bear Creek Park, I've heard so many different things. That wouldn't happen when I was that time. But it's kind of like my children, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to say, this is the way it was.
So we'll get back with you on recommendations on that in the next few weeks, probably.
Well, next, rolling right into pretty much the same topic with the park board. As y'all know, we've recently had a resignation from the park board, Carol Scott. so we have, place 4 now is vacant. Alternate number 1 is Steve Doty. So naturally, I guess that would be the member to fill the spot, but that's y'all's ruling on that.
So then we would need to bring that to you, the council action.
How is Scotty doing it?
No, Mayor, I've not talked to him. I've talked to his daughter, and I understand that he's been home and he's comfortable, and he just, as he stated in his resignation letter, it's not so much that his health is failing, but his doctor recommended that he just kind of take it easy, and that's, being on that park board, it's hard business, so.
I believe he's been in Surprise, Arizona,
Yes.
County.
Well, he comes here at council meetings too.
Spring training.
Spring training.
Well, that ain't taking it easy. Way to follow.
Well, they're de-aging him. He's not playing the field, right?
Yeah.
Before we leave that topic, to skip down to the teen court discussion, also, I think you're aware that Chris Salmon has resigned. Chris was alternate number 2. I would think that, is there a second alternate on Parks?
Yes, sir. It is Roger Sickler.
I think she's probably both. Unless y'all just had someone that wanted to do it, I don't know that there's any need to add, as long as we have an alternate on the Parks Board. And Priscilla Hawley, I think, is the teen court alternate number 1. Chris was alternate number 2. I don't, unless y'all just wanted to, I don't see any need to make a move there. So, at the next meeting or so, if it's okay, we would probably just bring you a recommendation to move Steve to alternate number 1 and Sickler to alternate, from alternate number 2 to alternate number 1. Just get out with it if that's okay.
And then if something comes up during the year where we find somebody that,
Y'all kind of take the summer off a little bit anyway.
July, like council.
So they're coming up. So if you know it, then it'll be time to do the end. So that's, all right, so we'll do that on both of those. Then try to get other services update.
Yes, sir.
Already bragging on the park.
Gary, before we get on that subject, also you'll have me going off of the other board on animal control. And so that's gonna have to be redone. They only meet 4 times a year.
That was an appointed position, not elected.
Right.
So it's, we'll be talking about. We're going to come back to the end of May, the fire department.
Well, they're gonna have some activities in that.
You know, I thought, if you're in the desire, I think you have to be checked once a year. Be checked once a year.
No, but you have to be checked.
Probably. Chipped and nipped? Okay.
All right, well, we will, I don't know how that just happened. This is the first PowerPoint that I had put together. That's why it's so fancy. Jordan did this for me. I'm so proud to have Jordan as somebody that actually knows how to do a PowerPoint now. I hope it goes smooth. So here we are from October through February. Number of visits, this is to the recreation center side of the Family Life Center, 34,000 visits and a little over 1,600 memberships sold. And in that colorful picture there on the bottom right, I want to just bring your attention to those spin bikes. Those are your spin bikes that you approved in this year's budget. And we have also installed the cardio theater, and everything over there is just, it's wonderful for our members, because we're also doing our own spin class with an instructor. But y'all know with cardio theater, along with spin classes, you can do hundreds of different workouts, and it's getting a lot of use so far, and we know that's just going to continue continue to grow, so we appreciate that opportunity to bring that from our staff to our citizens. Over on the senior center side, we're just over 10,000 visits so far this year, with 639 memberships sold. And the activities over there, y'all know. In fact, you'll see the next version of the playbook dropped April 4th. And when that comes out, in fact, I told Diane and Renee Garrett, if you haven't met Renee, that's Diane's new assistant there. It looks as though we're going to have to come out with a supplement to the playbook just so we can put all their programs in there. Most of the playbook is going to be their programs. They've done a wonderful job bringing new and exciting things for our seniors.
That's a pretty amazing number there on both sides, but particularly that senior side. If you stop to think of where we were a few years ago down at the Center. There used to be a TV program that one of the lines was, I love it when a plan came together. That's a plan coming together to get 10,000 people to do it.
And remember the thought, or so many people were saying, we're never going there. We're never going there. No, that's it. No, we're staying here.
Go take it away from them.
Yeah.
So since the pool opened just a couple months ago, we are at just over 1,700 visits to the pool. That does not include any of our classes, and if you've gone over there to see the success of the classes, they continue to fill up. You've probably heard me tell this story before. One of the things that I was, quite frankly, shocked about was that when we opened and started off in our Learn to Swim program, we realized quickly that we weren't reaching the citizens who needed it the most, which were the adults. So we've had to add adults Learn to Swim programs. We have always offered it for the kids. Never had really the opportunity until you all built the pool for us, and it's amazing the number of adults in our community who are participating in that program and didn't know how to swim. We've had, in addition to that, we've had 9 rentals of the indoor pool since it opened. Some pictures of some of our special events that we've done. 9 count last night. Over 4,000 total attendees. We've got everything from our Valentine's programs that we did at the Senior Center in the ballroom area, Halloween, of course the parade, and some of them had to be canceled due to weather, but still very successful with the ones that we've been able to produce. 520 rentals since October, and considering that Opa Mary does pretty much every one of those, it has become almost entirely what she does every single day is rentals. 520 just for one person's book, with over 14,000 people attending those various rentals. At Parks Texas Star, we've got 102 teams playing in spring this year, which is up significantly from last year. And we're about 3 tournaments into 41 for the season. So it will be a very busy summer, spring and summer for us out there. But JD and Mike do an outstanding job. It's amazing when you have that much activity, the emails that you get, one, complimenting the fields and the condition of the playing surface, but 2, just how professionally run those tournaments are. And it is a testament to JD and to Mike and their commitment to this city to make sure that we put out a product that we're all proud of out there. Softball world, we're at 587 league teams so far this year and 489 tournament teams. So again, that's just since October. So we're going strong out there. We have consolidated some of our leagues, putting multiple leagues on combining nights so that we can run hopefully a more efficient facility out there, and realize that there were some nights that weren't as strong as others. So we hope that that's a very positive thing for us this year. It's a little new, but it's so far very well received from the players. We're hopefully on track to have a very successful year there as well, if the weather will just allow that to happen for us. Upcoming events, Friday, March 28th, Mayor, I hope it's okay to make these announcements?
We just talked to Cindy yesterday, and the Shepherd people will be over that.
Good.
You know what time.
Good. So time to be announced, but on Friday the 28th, the art piece at the Senior Center will be, will arrive in Euless and will be installed. Wednesday, April 2nd, we have time yet on that?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. The art piece dedication ceremony at the Senior Center. Saturday, April 5th is our trash off at the Village's Bear Creek Park Amphitheater. Has been for the last few years. It will take place from 9 to 12. April 12th, we have the Beach Club Run and Easter egg hunt taking place at Bob Eden at 8:30 in the morning. And then, of course, Saturday and Sunday, April 26th and 7th will be Arbor Days.
Beach Club Run is supposed to be a big deal. There'll be a radio station broadcasting from out there, and I'm not even sure what all.
Helicopter dropping the Easter eggs. Of course, the run itself, they're expecting 1,000 or so people out there. And lastly, I wanted to talk to you because the playbook will come out next month, and we were kind of challenged to look at one of our most successful programs to see if there might be a better way to accommodate the enrollment in the program. So I give Suzanne the credit. She did the research on our RecTrack, which is the software that we use in the recreation department, and discovered that we can, through that program, coordinate a lottery for our summer camp participants. So this year we're going to try to do the lottery, and it's going to work hopefully like this. We're going to offer basically there'll be 2 separate lotteries, one for returning campers and one for new campers. As y'all know, some of you who've been around the camp or know people who've enrolled in our camp, those kids have participated, they're very loyal to that camp, and it is a great camp. It's a great experience for the kids. So we want to give those returning campers the opportunity to get into the lottery to get their spot. So what we will do is we will allow the application process for the camp to take place, and the dates have not been announced yet, but I guess after tonight we'll get that out so that we will give time for those people to get their registration forms turned into the rec center. When your form is turned in, you will be assigned a lottery number. When the registration period ends, it will be on a Saturday, Sunday, away from everybody else. We're going to go over to our offices, and the computer system is going to conduct the lottery. So you will be assigned, hopefully, your spot in the camp if your numbers are chosen. Now, there are a few kind of challenges to that. Probably the biggest one is that if you are a returning camper, or even a new camper for that matter, you can register kind of on a buddy system. But it will only allow you yourself and up to 3 buddies. So, for instance, if you have 4 children in your family, Jeff, for instance, if his kids were in our summer camp program, they can register as buddies or they can register individually. If you register as buddies, if all 4 slots in the camp are not open, you're out of the lottery. You go to the back of the line.
Who faces you?
Well, hopefully nobody, Mayor, but we will try to explain to all participants when they register or drop their forms off that there is that possibility. You know, we do have some families that have multiple kids in the camp. Could it happen? Yes, it could happen. But it could happen whether they stood in line too. So whether we go to the old way or this way, either way, that could have happened. Slots are full. Maybe your oldest child doesn't get in. You know, there's various weeks you can register. It's kind of a complicated procedure. So anyway, that exists. After we fill the slots with the returning campers, new campers who will have turned their registration forms in while this was going on, then we'll go into a second lottery and be chosen for the remaining spots. After the new campers have fill the spots, whatever might be left over at that point, we will have an open registration for residents and non-residents for whatever slots are left, and you will have to come into the rec center and do that in person. So sometimes there's slots left after that point, you know, sometimes there may not be, but if there are, they'll have to come in.
I'm sorry, with the returning campers, is there any kind of discernment between residents and non-residents?
Yes, that is only for residents. Non-residents will only have the opportunity at the very end
Okay.
to come in themselves for whatever slots might be left over after we have done the previous campers and new campers.
Awesome job.
Now, this is one of those things that I'm gonna have to take full responsibility for, particularly if it goes bad. And I will tell you that it may very well go bad. It's one of those things you don't want to mess with Mother Nature, but we're messing with Mother Nature. If you're not aware of this, because of the popularity of this camp, we have people camping out in our parking lots at night. Not a lot of them, but there's some. Now, there's some people that absolutely love that. They love the social aspect of it. There are some people that think it's the worst system in the world. So what we know is some of our friends are for this and some of them against it. Same thing with this new system. It is about as fair as we can make it, but I have some fear that we're going to have both sides mad at us. The people that like to camp out and the people that didn't like to camp out. But I think what it came down to is we don't have the restroom facilities or we're not set up for this camping out business at our facilities. And so I think I know the effort has been to do the right thing here and meet all needs, but I am very concerned that we have messed with Mother Nature here. I'm just telling you up front, if it doesn't go well, it is my responsibility, because he said they were been challenged. Well, I'm the one that challenged them to find a different way. If it works great, Suzanne did a really good job. My guess is it was really upset people.
Well, let me ask you a question. Many of our employees' children come to these camps. What would happen to them if they are not residents of the city of Houston? Would they get a particular choice?
I don't think there's as many employees as often thought, but
We will make an attempt to reach out to those whose kids have participated, but those are the ones we know of.
Those are, yes.
Yes, ma'am. And as Mr. King said, we used to have quite a few, there's not as many as there used to be.
And that's that number.
Yeah, they're growing up and, you know, camp's not as cool as it used to be, so, but there are some.
But I have been a little concerned about that, and they've convinced me that it's not a big problem one way or the other. But don't want to beat this dead horse here, but just to let you know that there may be some upset people. Sure.
What is our capacity?
We have 4 different camps, but the 2 largest camps we have 45 in each camp. So there's 90 total.
So that's kind of your limit, right? 45 per camp?
Yes, sir. And it's always been that way.
And what are those limiting factors? What are those limiting factors to
It's
45?
camper to staff ratio,
Camper staff ratio.
Buses.
Buses.
transportation, absolutely.
And of course, this is, for some people, this is their means of summer daycare. And it's very affordable, which we try to make all of our things affordable for our residents. Because of that, there's some emotion on both sides of it. So,
Well, I bring that up so, I mean, possibly, if there's any problem that we have a large amount of people not going to be on camp, we can look at increasing the size, increasing our capability.
right.
You're looking at a lot of money, you have got additional buses, your staff.
You'd have to double your
Still,
staff.
we're here to provide a service.
Transportation, and for the facilities we have, it's a great ratio, and I think the kids have a great experience based on that.
And there's the 2 muster camps, and PD does every 2 weeks, and fire does 1 week. So there is lots of offerings out there, but there's lots of kids out there. Like, we talked about one way to then in the herd is to raise the price, but we decided we didn't want to do that. We wanted to continue to offer it at an affordable price. So it didn't become income biased. And what is the fee?
It's $85 per week.
So it's very affordable. You know, I don't have kids that age, obviously, but my sister that has kids in the age group live in Fort Worth, and they pay big bucks over there. But it's critical to their summer experience to get this. Just to let you know that it's.
I know one thing, when I was a kid here, if we went to the library in Midway Park Elementary, you know, they ran a summer athletic program up there. If it wasn't for those two things, what really went down for us to do except for play baseball?
But it's, the ship is kind of sailed here. And there's really no backing up there. Obviously, if it goes terrible this year, we can change it next year. But for this year, we'll see. All right. Sherry, could you hold until next meeting? You got to brag on yourself there. Well, you got to come to trash issue. You got trash comments.
Trash comments. This will be real brief. The city entered into franchise agreements with both Allied and CWD back in November of 2012. Both these contracts have the potential to last 10 years each, so these contracts will potentially last until 2022. But written into the franchise contracts are annual rate increases that take into effect on March 1st of each year. So Euless residents and businesses will see this increase next month in their April invoices. So the main thing I wanted to do tonight was just give you advance notification that the trash rates are going up effective with April invoices. So you can see from this first chart that even with the rate increase, Euless customers receive great value for services that are priced below the area averages. I'll have to look at the very bottom to see what we were paying in 2013 versus 2014, what's about to take place with the April invoices. We got a 25-cent increase on the sanitation, and then a 4-cent increase on recycling that will take into effect next month. Now, this next slide, and then my last slide.
It's in effect.
Yes, it went in effect March 1st.
Yes, you'll be reflected on your bill, but that rate's in effect.
So this next slide, or my last slide, it just looks at the entire utility bill based on an average use, based on the use of 8,000 gallons of water and then the processing of 8,000 gallons of wastewater. But even with the rate increase, Euless customers are still paying $10 less on average. See, the average there is $87 a month, and with the increases, our average is going to be about $78 a month. So it's $10 less on average per month than the other 5 cities that we surveyed here. So even though he isn't here tonight, I want to commend Chris Barker for what a great job he did negotiating these franchise contracts in 2012. And because I moved to Euless from Hearst back in September, I'm saving about $350 a year in my utility bill. So good. The bad news is we got an itty-bitty increase that you're going to see next month. But the good news is we're still a whole heck of a lot better than our area cities.
Well, and those other area cities, if they're having increases, that's not reflected on their either.
That's right. They have built-in increases, or there's some CPI, percent CPI. You recall we chose to do that, so we didn't have to go through the headache of the justification of fuel costs.
Right.
CPI. Any issues that y'all are seeing or hearing on trash or recycling? Sir?
I think held aware of the CWD issue with recycling. And I don't think it's isolated just in Wilshire. I think it's.
So we had it in my area several times.
And I've been surprised. I mean, up until this year, the service has been great. But I don't know what's occurred. Dale, you and I called. I really don't know. I think you had a chance to discuss a lot with the Wilshire community and some of those individuals who were very upset. And I just want to get a report. How did that go? Or
Well, I've had several phone calls, personal calls from the city manager's office that I made, and I'm following up on
those. They made, what Robert Mendigovich will tell you next month when he does his annual report to the council.
The horse is about to run, we got
Do that, or it's time to wake up. What Robert will tell, from CWD will tell you next month is that they had some operational challenges, not to mention the weather, but they had some operational issues that they have since corrected. The complaints, Catherine, she's still, she's not back there, but the complaints have been virtually nil since within these last 4 to 6 weeks.
What time are they supposed to be starting in the morning?
7 o'clock.
Okay, because maybe the way they're getting around now is they're getting even earlier, because I walk out at 7 o'clock the other morning to drop my stuff off, and it was all gone. I mean, so maybe they're starting even earlier now because they were having trouble getting them all picked up. But that, I mean, we can get
There's
into
a
that.
contractual window of time.
7 to 7.
Yeah. So if they're coming early, we need to be addressing that just as surely as they're late, if they don't come at all. Because obviously they're
And Barry, your zone was the one hardest hit on that storm day.
And down the hill.
Yes.
So we're aware of the recycling, and we're working on that. Obviously, that there is one person that does that, and so it's just not too difficult to find where the problem is. Any trash issues that you might have?
I will comment. I mean, this could be just a, response to the amount of recycling we're starting to get now. Recycling has to be a great deal. Even you made that comment, Gary, that you went to the car, and now you're becoming a recycling king. So our volumes have to be up greatly.
On my little street, there is a significant increase in
Yeah.
recycling, and I'm a little sympathetic to the driver on CWD because
One person.
Yeah, if you think about it, he's picking up, she's picking up that much more, and still the same 7 to 7 window each day. Eventually, you're going to get to a point where they can't do it in a day.
if you just, I think we did a great thing, but I'm not sure that that needs additional staffing or something, because you just, used to, the little girl, she just go around and she tossed those blue bags, and now if you've got a heavy car, she's got a deal on the back of the truck, but how many bags can you toss in the time it takes for that machine to dump that
I
thing?
think that's the point of reference right there.
I mean, she literally has a machine dumping it. She's running up and down the street grabbing bags.
So that-
And she runs.
She runs.
She
Yeah.
She runs out of that
If you
cab
ever
and
seen her,
runs.
she's 5 feet tall.
I would, when, Robert will be out here in the next few weeks, and, y'all feel free to talk with him about that, because, it was a very, very small charge that they're levying for that cart for the bin, and, but, that they agreed to it, so they were contractually obligated to do whatever it takes to provide the service. And I'm a little sensitive about pointing the finger at the driver with that additional work.
Yeah, that's an awful lot.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I will commend that. When I made that issue clear in Wilshire, Dale's done his due diligence to make sure he contacted those folks, and I haven't got any more phone calls.
I haven't heard anything. We had several buses, and some of them were weather related, I think, and some of them might have been their own issues within CWD. And that's why I'm interested to see if anybody in the last week or so. I've picked up like clockwork in my neighborhood.
Mine was for years, and the timing is so different now than it used to be.
So, but one thing we're committed to is the personal contact. If you call us, if you give us someone's name that's been missed, we'll pick it up. Probably anybody will, but we will also follow up with them directly.
I think that's so important. I mean, because Dale contacted those individuals, citizens, and did whatever he could to make them happy. So I think it's what we're supposed to do, but still, good job.
We haven't had anybody miss over in my neighborhood but, she's later than she used to be, it seems to be. And I was sure it was because of the quality of recycling that's going on.
Yeah.
Well, that's, you know, that's one of those things that $1.19, I think, for the basic recycling, so we pick up 4 times generally in a month, so it's a quarter, but to the people who are missed, it's not about a quarter. It's
Exactly.
not a recycling. So we know it's critical, and we take it very seriously. It's, Dale has learned the last few months that we take it very seriously. Day or night, you were calling. Okay. We just have a few agenda items, and I guess we'll cover that.
Cover 2.
Yeah, I think, let's just go ahead and do that just right quick. We'll see your last question, because we'd like some time in closed session, and that way we can be a little bit late for dinner and finish dinner everybody. Item, we got the pins, and I think everybody planning on being here, as far as y'all know. David Allen is right back there in the back. David is a legend in the GIS world. Don't know it, read his book. Books. How many books is it, David?
2.
Would you bring him to sign?
Throw a signed copy I can give away.
He literally wrote the book, so anyway, all those guys will be here. Item number 2 is renewal of the bid for the mowing, and that's just straight up stuff.
Wasn't a problem, that was a couple of years ago, we had one that dropped and we picked it up.
Yeah, it was sorted out to 2 or 3 different people now.
Yeah, it's been O'Donnell's for the last couple of years, and that's who this is with.
We hold our breath to say we'll stick with us, because we feel like we have to get someone else, we have to do it. Item number 3 is the calendar. And I've seen those dates before. I hope that everybody is fine with the calendar for the minutes, covered 5 and 6. And item number 7 is the dog day care. Stephen, you got anything to add to that? Or?
Yes, sir. The SUP before you this evening is a modification to a previous SUP. They are going from dog grooming and animal daycare to allow for overnight kenneling. The zoning ordinance does allow for overnight kenneling interior to the building if it is within the C2 zoning district. The applicants at the Planning and Zoning Commission had a lot of discussion with the Planning and Zoning Commission in consideration of some of their operational issues, how often they walk the animals outside, and be able to take care of the animals internal to the building. I can tell you that the owners have worked very well with our code compliance and our building official over the past couple of months to address several of the structural issues internal to the site, but to make sure that the site remains clean and healthy for the animals, and they have shown us their processes in which they take care of the animals and check their vaccination records, and assure us that the way that they treat the animals and make sure that they care the animals correctly so that they don't have issues there. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with the conditions in your background.
I'd like to compliment Planning and Zoning. They did a thorough questioning and did ask a lot of good questions.
You talked to the farmer owners too.
Yes, ma'am.
Questions on that? Okay, dinner is ready. Pardon, did I miss something?
Are you going to do the public hearing too?
Yes, ma'am. I'll be available. Yes, ma'am.
We've got people spread. Mr. Collins is in Colorado. Angela, Marcus, Disney World, and I'm not jealous.
No way. Am I going to the zoo today?
So dinner is served, and this is a birthday dinner, Mr. Paul, and it is Chick-fil-A, and the lady is real.
And it's my last time with cheese.
Your burger, last birthday.
Hopefully not the last birthday.
To choose his birthday.
Now,
I will fix.
That's a pre-council except in closed session.
You'll know you won't get
You are attorney general.
And it's high. Did you see what happened to the initiative?
I'm crazy. Go
I know the window is technically Martin Cole ends up pretty good. And I could have broken my leg. I was up 10. It just was, I was trying to patch some holes in some siding. Okay.
She was in the Olympics.
We saw it with Brandon, Brandon got it for Saturday. Yeah, it really is. And then they put in for another $1,200. You can do like a all-in road estimate. Materials are coming in, and you get all the stuff. So for under $3,000, well, and then trimmed all the trees, trimmed all the bushes, everything down to really nice. I mean, it's good. For under $3,000. Well, he's worked on my water system, make sure it's more efficient, and installed a new rain freeze sensor on it. Really happy with it. Because it was I'm trying to do more DIY around
David Grace will be here next Friday.
Really?
Good.
I know you've got more than I need. I just wanted to check.
Make sure you check it.
Okay.
You know,